Welcome to the Poisoner's Cabinet. I'm Sinead.
And I'm Nick.
And this is your weekly podcast exploring the lives of the great poisoners, macabre murders, and captivating crimes from across the centuries, and creating curious cocktails inspired by the tales to be told. And it's episode 235.
Very splendid.
How very splendid.
Very splendid.
How are you, Nick?
I'm very splendid.
Very splendid.
Very splendid.
Very splendid.
Everything's splendid.
Everything's splendid. You're one cocktail in.
Splendid.
What happened just then?
Splendid thing.
Good. Excellent. Well, we're well on the way then.
Splendid.
Cheers. Well, we have our pre-cocktail cocktails in Negroni, because why not? Nick doesn't have to work tomorrow.
Hooray.
Any poisonings this week, Nick?
Probably.
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 The world a little bit.
Well, yes.
The world
Has poisoned itself.
is a bit, hasn't it? At the time of recording in January 2025, certain listeners were so sorry.
It's a fun time.
But we're here. We are here for you, people. We love you. And this is always a safe space that you can come and enjoy lovely, lovely, poisony, murdery, horrible stories.
Yes, just nonsense, really.
Yeah, and us just drinking heavily. Yeah. Escape from reality with the Poisoner's Cabinet, and you can message us anytime if you need to. We love you very dearly, and this goes to all of our listeners across the world. But it's been a mad few days with the exploding of certain channels, and then the presidency, and then just flood and fire and wind. Northern Ireland's about to be absolutely decimated.
Just blown away.
Well, speaking of the world being in turmoil, but us being here, I think it is time for us to thank our delicious Patreon subscribers.
We most certainly should. Yes, we must say thank you this week to Riley Heretic.
Ooh. To Tisha Raven.
To Shari Blanick.
To Shannon Murdoch.
To Absolutely Not Arsenic.
Absolutely, sir. Night Owl.
To Laurie Swinehart.
And Kimmy.
Hurrah, thank you, darling people.
Hurrah, delicious. Thank you so many Patreon subscribers. We had fun on Patreon this week.
We did.
We had the story of Dr. Sam Shepard.
Dr. Shepard, the fugitive.
The inspiration for The Fugitive. The series, the film, the legend. The lover. I don't know. No, it's a great story.
Yeah,
it's
interesting.
very weird. Knowing that it's The Fugitive's inspiration helps. I think you revealed that at the end. I loved the story. It was really good. But then it was like, whole other dimension there. Chilling. Chilling tale. If you want to know what the hell we're talking about, please do consider joining us on patreon.com/The Poisoner's Cabinet, where you get extra episodes from us every single week, as well as bags of bonus content. It's a lovely community where you can chime in with your thoughts on old episodes, on new episodes, and you can also join our book club. We get together and read a book every 6 weeks or so, and we have a lot of chat on that. We have a Zoom and everything. We should also say this is the first recording of the Poisoner's Cabinet with a new addition to Nick's life. Nick no longer lives alone. He's no longer a bachelor.
No longer.
He is now shacked up with Mrs. Lovett. With Mrs. Lovett. The scandal.
Scandalous indeed.
She's a woman with a past, sir. And when we say Mrs. Lovett, we mean his gorgeous ginger cat, who is sitting on a chair directly behind my left shoulder, staring.
Yeah. Go on, pounce, kill.
I stopped her from jumping on the table a little while ago, and she has
for it.
now been stalking everything around. She's 13 years old. She's 13. You thought you were getting an old, frail, no. She has seen things, and she's going to fuck shit up.
Absolutely. That she is.
She's such a sweetie.
She is a sweetie.
But she will kill.
She will.
We also have a shout out this week, Nick. We have a shout out for the lovely Lucia, who has just turned 18.
Ah, merry birthday.
At the time of recording this, so we recorded this on the 23rd of January.
Yes.
Lucia turned 18 alongside her lovely, lovely twin sister, Joya. I really hope I've got the pronunciation of that right. She wanted to give you a shout out because we know that Lucia absolutely loves the podcast, and your sister wants to let you know how much you are loved, how much you are appreciated, and this is, bless you, if this is your favourite podcast, we are so happy to send you happy birthday messages. Happy birthday messages from your sister, who I'm sure is spoiling you rotten and is there for you. You guys are having a cocktail dinner party. Nice. For your birthday, heavily inspired by the Poisoner's Cabinet.
Excellent.
But you are so loved and appreciated by the family. Thank you to the whole family who are such supporters of the show. We are delighted to shout out to you. We hope you've had an absolute blast.
Absolutely.
And continue celebrating over the weekend.
Have a grand old time.
Well, Nick, are you ready to drink cocktails and talk about poison?
Oh, probably.
Or we could drink poison and talk about cocktails.
Let's do that too.
We could do both. Yeah, it feels like a cocktaily, poisony, cocktaily kind of evening, doesn't it?
That it does.
Oh my god, yes. All right, well, let's go with the first one. Because we're going to be intellectuals this week.
Oh, God.
I know we really are.
You didn't tell me this.
Oh,
I didn't prepare.
You can prepare mentally now for the next 2 minutes.
Okay.
Great, let's go with the first one. Hooray, hooray, hooray. Because it is my story this week, and we can't possibly have a story without a cocktail involved. As you know, dear listeners, every week we choose a secret ingredient that is inspired by the tale that we tell, and it will flavour our cocktail of the week. Nick, the secret ingredient this week is a university.
A university.
A university. College to our American listeners.
Yes. A place of learning and education.
A place of higher education. But a university specifically.
Oh, you have a specific one in mind? Oh, you didn't specify that.
I do. A university, I was going to keep it vague for
okay,
you.
Good.
Yes,
okay,
because
fine.
if I'd given you the specific university, you probably would have shot me. Yeah.
Well, we'll never know.
I also went through this episode and I was like, oh my god, there were loads of actually other ingredients in here I could have said, but I just went, university, there we go. So don't hit
good
me.
to know.
But a university, what have you come up with?
Well, I did think about doing, what cocktails did I have at university?
Oh, that is a very good
So
take
I did
that.
sort of start down that route.
Oh god, it's all
But
fish
yeah,
bowls,
exactly.
isn't
And as I was like Googling, like, university cocktails. I mean, I was like, no, I'm too old for that.
It was whatever the student union rustled up that week.
Yeah.
And vodka Red Bull, basically.
It was just, has it got sugar and colour and alcohol in it?
Woo!
So,
thrush in a glass.
yeah. So that I did quickly move on from that notion about doing that.
Okay, Nick, I'm gonna put my hand up here and say 1 week.
Yeah.
We need to. I think
we
need to. Yes, I think we should revisit. Maybe we'll do a special episode, and everyone's clamoring. Take to the keyboards, people. Vote for it.
What were the cocktails you drank when you were 18?
Exactly.
Everyone,
that.
let us know.
What are the stupid cocktails you drank as teenagers? Maybe we'll do a special episode. Maybe we'll film it. We'll taste them. We'll try to mix them. And things will happen.
Yeah.
And then
terrible things.
Yeah, we'll have some...
Like what happened when I was 18. I did terrible things.
Again, you are selling this very well. I see no downsides. Don't go quiet. Are you going to write poetry and play a guitar?
Maybe.
Or a lute.
Yes, exactly. About my feelings. So instead, we're going to have a Don's Delight.
A Don's Delight. Okay,
yes.
Like it. Very good. University Don, very good.
University Don,
yeah.
Professor.
I mean, I know that gets mixed up with the mafia every now and then.
There is that, yes.
If it's got a lot of mafia ingredients in here, I'll spot that a mile off.
So whether the particular inventor of this cocktail was thinking about a university when he named it, probably not.
Based on the... Well, let's see. Let's see, shall we?
I know exactly where they were coming from, which is why I'm still tempted. I still might change it.
You have been wrestling since we got in.
Same cocktail, but a potential switch of ingredients, and I'm still in two minds.
Hey, you know what? We got time. Well, I think we should file into the poisoner's cabinet kitchen to get our diplomas and shake up the storm. So we'll see you in a minute.
We'll see you in a bit.
And we're back.
Hello.
So, Nick.
Yes.
We have the Don's Delight. Now, you were wondering about the ingredients.
You have my version.
Right.
I have the original version.
So we have two versions.
Two different versions. One ingredient different between the two.
Okay. Goody.
I'm not sure which one I should have given you.
Oh, dear. Okay, well, lovely. So it is... The one I have is yellowy, kind of... Looks nice.
Slightly
foamy.
Yes, this one's a lot paler.
That one's a lot paler. This is cloudier.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, should we dive in?
Let's give it a go.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Pleasant. I don't think there's anything in fire in here or evil. So, it's sweet and fruity, but not overly citrusy. There's some citrus in here. Oh, I enjoy that. Swapsies. Swap shop. There you go. Okay, there you go. Okay, so that was
this
Nick's
is
version was
me
very
version.
nice.
That version is also very nice.
Okay, let's go. Your version is better.
I prefer the me version.
Yeah, your version is better. There's nothing wrong with the original. It's like, what am I thinking of? A thing.
You are thinking of a thing.
I am thinking of a thing.
You're definitely thinking of a thing.
Like a white lady.
You're not thinking of that thing.
I'm not thinking of that thing. Well, no, I am thinking of that thing. I'm wrong, is what we're trying to say. Right, okay. Let's try and guess. I have 2 things to guess between. Is there maraschino in this?
No.
Is there almond or apricot variety?
There's an almond.
That's it, because the cherry... I was thinking
there is an almond in both. Yes.
So amaretto?
There's an amaretto.
Yeah. Amaretto. Okay, right. Amaretto. With there. Okay.
Yep.
Citrus, lime?
Limes.
Limes.
Yes.
Right. Amaretto, lime, gin?
Nope.
No gin.
No gin.
Bad gin. Rum?
Nope.
It's clear though.
Yeah.
Vodka?
Nope.
What other clear ones am I not thinking of? So not vodka, gin, or rum.
No.
Is there a big one I'm missing?
Yes.
No, there isn't.
There's no other booze in the world.
Well, whiskey? It's not a... Is there bourbon in this?
There is bourbon in this.
Is there?
Yeah,
It doesn't look like there's bourbon in it.
Not much, I grant you. Not much, but there is a wee bit of bourbon in both.
A whisker of bourbon. Yep. All right.
That's not the different. That's common to both of these. There's a bit of bourbon.
Okay, so there's those.
Yep.
But there's a difference.
There's a difference, and there's a big one in both that I switched out.
You switched out. Triple sec?
Nope.
Is it something fruity? Floral?
No.
Twiggy?
No.
Sandy?
So yes.
Earthy?
Mainly made of sand.
How many worms are in this?
Potentially many.
What? Tequila! Shit! Sorry. Oh, it's been a long time since we've had a tequila one. I'd scratched that from my brain.
So your one has tequila.
Right. Okay.
So Don's Delight, Spanish Don.
Yeah, nice.
That's where you get that.
Spanish Don.
That's where you get that from.
He went to university, maybe?
This one, I have made with whiskey.
Oh.
Rather than tequila.
Okay.
I swapped it, which I thought might be slightly more, you go to university, let's have a whiskey type thing.
Because all the Dons are drunk.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, fair.
Yeah.
Potato. Right, okay.
I was tossed up between brandy and whiskey, but I thought, whiskey.
Okay, so my mind is blown there. So you've substituted whiskey for tequila, which seems like a terrible idea.
Really?
But no,
I don't think it's a terrible idea at all.
Well, that's why you're the mixologist and I'm an idiot. Yours tasted lovely. So tell us the original and what you've done.
So the original, so the tequila is the base spirit in the original one. Then there's a bit of bourbon in there. There is some Disaronno, so some amaretto, some almond.
Delicious.
In there. There is lime juice in there. There's a bit of sugar.
Yes.
Now, these are meant to be quite foamy. So they call for an egg white. But I, in my infinite wisdom, had bought some cocktail foamer.
Right.
It says in the book, sort of like a half an egg white or 3 drops of cocktail foamer, and it is legitimate stuff.
Yeah.
Apparently the stuff I bought is shit.
Because there's no foam.
It was
a faint foam, but no more than you get from shaking.
I think perhaps I have vastly underestimated the need for droplets, but that didn't work. So it was meant to be more of a soury sort of thing with a bit of a foaminess. That didn't work. But so the original Don's Delight, margarita sort of adjacent.
Yeah.
I thought, no, university, whiskey. I can't see many university dons knocking back a tequila of an evening.
You just thought whiskey. They'd have a whiskey.
They'd have a whiskey of an evening.
To discuss things. It's a university that teaches madmen, apparently. Yeah, there's another whiskey on the day.
So that's what I had in my mind. So I thought, no, I'll switch it out.
So which whiskey did you use?
I've used a monkey shoulder blended Scotch.
I'll tell you though,
this one works.
It's really good.
If you like that one, I'm happy with the tequila.
No, I have to read words.
Okay.
So I don't know what's worse, tequila or
they're
whiskey.
much the same.
Yeah, they're pretty fucking strong. I'll stick with that.
Which would you prefer?
They're both lovely. Give me another sip of that, though. Do you want another sip of this one?
Go on, then.
Yeah, your one really works. You've gotten onto something there. It's sweeter somehow, but without being cloring. Okay, there are 2 variants on the Don's Delight.
Sounds slightly sexual.
It does sound a little bit... No, yes. It's a wonderful day at the university.
Absolutely.
But they're resplendent in whiskey and tequila,
having a grand old time.
They've all gone to the Freshers' Ball and things happened. Wonderful. With those firmly in hand, would you like a story now?
I would like a story.
So, this week... Nick,
is it a sexy story?
You can make it sexy if you want to.
Okay.
I mean, I encourage you to make innuendos all the way through it, as I always do. But this week, Nick, there's trouble.
Cock!
Not so much sexy. But just shouting shit.
Does that not work as sexy? Oh, shit, that's why I'm going wrong.
Depends when you shout it. If it's on the first date in the restaurant, midway through the meal, would this be something you'd be interested in, my friend? I think any time shouting that out, just that one word shouted out, anyone would be unsettled. Like, do you want to follow that? No, just that. Okay. Fine.
Yeah, we look for a very different type of people, I feel.
You look for monosyllabic cavemen, apparently, who are just happy to be there.
We're all just happy to be there. Anyway, moving on. Come on. The story to get on with.
So, Nick, there's trouble at the old mill.
Oh, no.
And by trouble, I mean murder. And by murder, I mean poisoning.
Oh, good.
And by the old mill, I mean university. I wrote that joke after having a beer at lunch, and I decided to stick to it.
Well, you absolutely, you cling to it.
Exactly. This week we have the incredible, bizarre, and deadly tale of how one of the co-founders of one of America's top universities met an untimely end.
Oh.
Yes, it is the murder, disputed, but very much a murder.
Very much murdery.
Of Jane Stanford. Now, is this ringing any bells?
It does ring a bell. I have done some research into this one as a potential subject.
Yeah.
So it has come across my list.
And a few people have messaged us recently saying, you must look into this, you must look into this. Now, when you first look into it, you kind of go like, oh, some of the resources quite small.
Yeah.
But then you dig a little further. You go, maybe. And then you go, oh my God.
Oh my God, there's actually stuff here.
No, there is been a brilliant book written all about this story called Who Killed Jane Stanford by Richard White, who was a professor at Stanford University, was a professor at the time of writing, his historian. Stanford University, also their students have dug into the background. It was surprising, given the centre of research that it is. There's a lot of information there, but it's not on your usual site.
Yeah.
So you would think that this would be covered in all of the true crime sites and all of these things. And really it should be. But it's an incredible tale that we are going to delve into this week. Fun facts about Stanford University today. I just thought I'd throw these in.
Okay.
I wasn't sure how long the story would be, and I'd put these in at the beginning.
Let's
Forgot to delete them. Massive world-renowned research center for research. Its unofficial mascot. This is a nice fact. The Stanford tree.
A tree.
It's a tree costume. It's like a Christmas tree outfit that they choose. They select a student each year to dress up as the tree.
You shall be beaten up violently all year round and dressed as this tree.
And for their events and for their sporting things, it's just a happy Christmas tree walking around. It's terrible. It's just.
But I need to go to lessons. No, be a tree.
You must be the tree. Be a tree. Be a
I've got
tree.
an exam. Be a tree.
It's very weird. I'm a drama student. This is very meta.
No one wants to be a tree.
But for a long time, the founding of the university and the fate of one of its namesakes was pretty much omitted from the official records and not talked about at all. Several articles and the great book, as I mentioned, Who Killed Jane Stanford, have exposed some of the long-hidden secrets and the bizarre stories that were hidden in those hallowed halls. So, who were the Stanfords?
Who were they?
Who founded the university? What would you think? I'm going to paint a picture of someone who was founding.
Oh, fancy and rich. Bequeathed the library.
Yeah, old money,
Old
kind
money,
of, that
yeah.
sort of stuff. No, not so much.
Industrialists.
Yes. Lots of money eventually. Jane Stanford, who is the focus of our story, was born Jane Lathrop.
Okay.
I've called her Lathrop. It's Lathrop. But I thought Lathrop was fun. She was from pretty good middle-class-ish stock from Albany, New York. Her father was a shopkeeper, and he wasn't just like a grocer on the street or anything like that. Yeah, it was decent shops and everything. Apparently he used his money to invest in various businesses, particularly supporting female-focused education.
Nice. Good for him.
She had a good education herself. She got one. There we are. And her childhood occurred.
Well done them.
We don't know much about it, but it happened.
It happened, as it generally does.
Yes, not much is known about her childhood. But she's a girl. All that matters is that in 1850 she marries.
That's the main important thing.
Very important. She marries one Leland Stanford from another family in New York. Now, Leland's father was a farmer. Leland went on to study law. He met Jane while he was studying. Good match, good match. The pair are wedded. They're shacked up. Okay, all very good. So they've got a bright future ahead of them. Leland's very determined to make his way in the world. They're keen to have children, to have a family, but it would be several years before they could even start that because Leland has business plans in mind. Many plans.
Business first.
So he starts practicing law. This is apparently scuppered. There's a whole incident where there's a fire at his home or his law offices and his library gets burnt up.
No.
He goes around various places looking for new business ventures, but he ends up in California. He goes because of the gold rush. There's gold in them hills.
No, that there is.
And also there's people to exploit.
Nice.
And land to take. He starts ventures out there. Jane does not immediately join him. Her father is very sick, so she stays at home. So he goes out, though, Leland, out in business, and he goes into business with his brothers. He starts a general store for miners. He then becomes a justice of the peace. But then he starts branching out into bigger schemes. And he ends up becoming one of the key investors in the Central Pacific Railroad.
Oh.
Railroads.
There's money in them tracks.
Money in them tracks. He enlists various other men, and it's a very long-winded way of saying a railroad happened. But also, he was one of the big four at that time, in this very small period of time, in every history book. The big four, they're a big thing. It's basically four big white men.
Yeah.
Going, we'll raise money to create this mammoth railroad. So you're thinking, railroad baron? Okay, how wonderful. He must be doing very well for himself. There's money in them rails, as you said. Well, not so much.
Oh.
It is the Gilded Age. So fancy. But also the time of the robber baron, as we have covered in previous episodes. So it's not so much using your old worldy money and investing it wisely. It is, he will be rich, absolutely, because he white and he a man. It's
not all white men I say are rich.
No, but he's got an advantage in that part.
I mean, he definitely has an advantage. Yes, I'll give you that.
Yes, here we are. Well, there's a lot of racism in this story coming up. He can build monopolies and plan business ventures that could be to the detriment of the people of California. So that's the kind of idea about the robber baron as well. It's like we will build industrialist, build. Fuck the people.
Yeah,
fuck
as long as it makes us cash.
As long as it makes us cash, and it doesn't matter about the people of California or the migrant workers that we literally throw at the railroad. It would bring him in money. He was said to have a paper fortune. So it's all based on he's going to raise money, borrow money. This will end up making money. This will end up turning a huge profit. And it would. A lot of his ventures would. But still, he doesn't have any ready cash. He's getting a load of money. But if anyone called in those investments, it would be absolutely
all tied
fucked.
Up in investments and things, absolutely.
Yeah, this is one sample of a lot of the big ventures in America were run at the time of just going, no one please call us, no one call us. There's a depression, shit. Yeah, looks good on paper, would return profits, but they're essentially gambles. So the railroad would take a long time to create, but it does produce riches for other investors eventually. But it brought him money and social standing. He would go on to serve as president of the Central Pacific Railroad from 1863. He would be governor of California for a year, and he'd become a senator.
Fancy.
So all good.
Yeah,
He's doing well.
He's doing well, indeed.
Yeah, that was through his lifetime. When he's setting up the railroad business, Jane eventually joins him in California, and she becomes pregnant. Finally, as he's climbing the social and political ladder, Jane gives birth to the couple's only son, Leland Jr., in September 1868. She's 39 at the time. They've waited a long time.
They have waited a long time.
They've waited a long time. And you can imagine, a child is a joy to any couple, or to any family, but they are so delighted with the birth of their son. They have a grand party when he is born. They're so pleased. They invite all the social elite to their house. Apparently, they reveal the child on a sort of a silver platter.
Lunch!
He's on a bed of lettuce. He's on a bed of lettuce. They lift up the lid and then go, it's a baby! And they go, hey! And hand him around. This is the kind of pomp and ceremony they give to this baby.
God.
Yeah. They would move to San Francisco and live in the Nob Hill district.
Fancy.
Which basically means a lot of the time they're called knobs, which is fancy, but for all of us, it's funny, it means penis. Jane lavishes attention on her son, as you'd expect. She spoils him rotten. She's living through him. He grows up to be a very bright, precocious kid. He has got the best tutors, the best education. She didn't have a lot going on in her life. She was the wife of an industrialist. She would spend money. She was happy doing that. Apparently religious, quite pious, apart from spending all the money on her son. That was her focus, though. Very few people were close to her, apart from her personal secretary, a woman named Bertha Berner, who would be with her sort of from this period, like for the next 20 years.
Wow.
She had this secretary who was close to her, and she was very much a member of staff, but she had to do everything that Jane wanted. Now, the family would take trips all over Europe during Leland Jr.'s childhood to further his education. And the couple are aging themselves. They're not in the best of health. Leland Sr. certainly is starting to look a bit shaky, but they're still travelling because Leland Jr. needs everything. It needs to absorb the wonders of the world.
Yes, the culture of the Europe.
In 1883, the family take yet another trip to Europe for Christmas, over Christmas time. So it's in the winter, and this would turn to tragedy for them. While travelling in Italy, Leland Jr. falls ill. He's 15 years old at the time. He would contract typhoid fever, and in March 1884, he died in Florence. This is beyond devastating.
God, yeah.
As you can imagine, losing your child, your only child, they are absolutely distraught, full mental breakdown, complete breakdown, loss of their perfect boy. Jane is out of her mind.
Yeah, distraught.
They pull themselves together-ish, because they, of course, have to go home to San Francisco to bury him. They carry on their tour of Europe, though.
Oh, make sure they go to the well, they paid for it.
They bring his body with them.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, they sort of travel to a couple of other places, taking his body with them. We hope in a coffin. We hope. We hope that he's not propped up somewhere.
Propped up in the carriage.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
It is, I think it was just this long-winded way of getting home, but we can't judge on sort of like that level of grief and everything, that they can't bear to be parted with him. They get him back to the USA. They bury him in the family mausoleum to this huge memorial service. His room in the house was a shrine. Everything was a shrine to him. Now, following this tragedy for the family, it sparks a new interest in Jane and Leland Sr., particularly in Jane. Spiritualism. Yes, all the rage at the time.
Very fashionable.
Very fashionable with them Victorians over in England and into America as well. Oh, yeah, they are swept up in this fascination with the other world, with spirits. You've lost your child. You want to know that there is a way of contacting them and that they are okay in the other life. They become completely consumed by it. Jane in particular. Leland is definitely interested. And also, we have to point out that many people in America are, including Ulysses S. Grant. Ex-president by now, but he was a firm spiritualist.
Oh, yes.
And they were all hanging out. They would travel over. They would have parties. They would do. They would all hang out and sort of, again, hoping to speak to their lost loved ones. And it was apparently Leland Jr. who gave Daddy the idea to open a university.
Well, good for him. From beyond the grave.
From beyond the grave. Visit him in a dream, you see.
Oh,
in a dream.
Okay.
Not
Nice.
in a seance. It was...
Okay.
Would have been better if it was
it would have
a
been better in a
seance.
sense.
For us, not for them, not for them. But still, it happened. Leland Jr. visited his father in a dream and told him he should find
Find a university.
Find one. It's hidden somewhere in this house. Found a university, a great place of education, so poor young men might have the same advantages and benefits as he did.
Oh, that's nice.
Isn't that nice?
I like that.
Isn't that nice? Even if that
Well done, dreamy ghost.
dreamy ghost boy, good feeling there. Yeah. So they set about founding Stanford University.
Okay.
That is how it starts. It is named Leland Stanford Jr. University.
Nice.
In memory of their son. They would work about this for a long time. Leland Sr. obviously is also like my son in his memory, and also my name will be.
And also, it's also my name too.
Yeah. Oh my God, another business venture that I can raise like phantom money for. Oh, wonderful. And a big fat legacy with my name on it. Marvellous. They work on the plans for 6 years. It's an enormous campus. It remains an enormous campus to this day. Built on borrowed money. He borrowed from various slush funds. that he had for the various railroad companies, and just like, but I'll have some of that for my university. It's fine. Whatever business ventures he had, railways, wineries he had, a horse farm that he borrowed on, produced a lot of good horses, not a lot of money.
Nah.
But that's what it was built on. So basically, you kind of think a university, there must be loads of money in the coffers. No. There's paper. There's a lot of IOUs. So this is built, and the book that I referred to earlier by White, he refers to a quote, I believe from the then president of Harvard University, who said that Stanford University was a personal monument built on ill-gotten fortune.
No.
As many places and institutions
As many places were, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a personal monument. You know, is it really for the betterment of everyone, or is it just my name?
It's my name.
So the university...
I mean, it says the chap who running Harvard. Who was
He's the president. He doesn't own it.
Okay, but who was still named after someone who is it John Harvard or something like that, who founded Harvard? So
the presidents of the university. This is the distinction. You've got the owners, but then a president is brought in to run it. So they don't own it. They have no skin in the game. They are hired. So at Harvard, he would be just going like, yeah, that's what all of them are, basically. Him just going, yeah, no, I'll take your money, Mr. Harvard. Don't listen to all of them. The university opened to students in 1891, and it was a co-educational university. Not all of them were. They were like men and women in there too. Jane was very much behind this. She thought women should come into the university, so it would be more inclusive. They wanted it to be of high quality, but not sort of the snooty other universities that exist. Practical as well, teaching practical skills. So good foundation, good principles.
Yeah, good principles, absolutely.
But then Leland Sr. dies in 1893 of heart failure. He's just old, he's not well. And this leaves Jane in charge. Jane owns the university. She is also in control of the Stanford fortune, such as it is, which consists of the university and various shares in various companies.
And many companies.
Lots of things. Again, paper. But it means that the university's finances are a mess. The university's first president, David Starr Jordan, comes in, and you would think he'd come in, okay, great, old world money, lots in here. No, there's no money. There's no money. This place is on the brink of collapse. And now a woman is running it. Probably should shut it down.
Oh, God, yes. It's never going to go well.
It is on the brink of bankruptcy. And where's she going to get the money from? As the country is also heading towards, not the Great Depression, the one before that, the Great Panic. So economically, it's not in a good...
Not ideal.
Yeah. There's also a lot of tax bills on the free land that they had. They were like, oh, this is free, but we have to pay tax on it. From what? What do we do? Everything's losing money. It's not only the university losing money, but Jane has pretty strong ideas that are getting more and more unhinged the older she gets on the direction of education and how the staff should behave and how to pretty much piss off everyone around her. And it starts to make her some enemies.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I think that's time for a drink.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Nick, we have our drinks.
We do.
It is the late 1890s. Stanford University has no money. It is operating. People are coming in. And they're
under the control of a lady.
A lady.
My God.
Well, the ownership of a lady, but you have your academic staff and you have the...
Thank God for that.
Yes. You have all the people facilitating it, academic and administrative staff, who are going, okay, well, we've got ideas about it, but there's a crazy lady shouting about what we should do. As I said, it's right at a desperate economic period in the USA. Jane is determined to keep it open, though. To her credit, she absolutely digs her heels in where everyone is saying, no, shut down, let it go, let it die. She's going to keep this going in her husband and her son's memory, and she's going to absolutely see through all of the crises.
Like it. And
people have written about that, you know, whether it's her being very shrewd and waiting things out or it's just dumb luck. But she rides out this storm at this time where things are collapsing all around her. She has a lot of shares in the railroad companies that her husband started, so the Central and then later Southern Pacific Railroad. And she, at one point, she goes over to England during Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee and tries to sell her jewellery. She tries to sell her jewellery to raise funds for the university. It doesn't quite work. She would leave that as a legacy in her will later on. She's trying to raise all the money that she can. But eventually she gets through because the shares she has in the railroad companies, eventually people stop buying up the railroads. and then there was something. So she's quids in. She has a fortune behind her.
Excellent.
It is a shaky few years of people going, she's crazy. She's not any less crazy at the end of this.
But she's crazy and rich now.
She's crazy and rich.
Which is always helpful.
Yeah, and she can just stamp her feet, and she gets very vocal on the direction of the university, which is at odds of those of the president, Jordan, and its staff. Now, she wanted the place to be inclusive for all people, but her focus was it needed to educate the soul. She's a spiritualist.
Yes.
It needs to educate the soul, and it's all about reaching a higher place and being a good person rather than maths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
She starts to go a little bit off the rails there. She's very, very much fixated on that and says that her late son and husband are her spiritual guides through this.
Get into dodgy territory there.
Yeah, and she's vocal and cantankerous as well at the board meeting. She's not a sort of delicate fly on the wall. She's aging as this goes on, nothing wrong with that. But she is being very vocal and loud, and they can't get rid of her because she owns the university and she has a lot of money behind her. She was, by all accounts, overbearing, demanding, violent to her staff, obsessed with honouring her dead loved ones at the university. She started out wanting Stanford to be co-ed. Then she starts to turn on the female students. She has this shift at the beginning of the 1900s where she starts wanting the number of women students to be capped. She doesn't thinks there's too many. There's too many in there. I don't know whether this is the rise of suffrage around Europe, which would be happening, or the collapse of the cult of womanhood, or just the numbers of women who are enrolling. She never anticipated so many women wanting to join the university, because she was like, no, it's good to educate the future wives and mothers. That's how she saw them at the university. They need to be educated and to stand up to their male, not stand up to, but to help their male counterparts. But now all these women are wanting an education, and she's like, no.
No, yes, if they want an education, they can be independent, and no one needs that in ladies.
Not in favour of that.
No.
Not
Still need a husband behind you.
In favour of that. She wanted to cap the number of female students per year at 500. She raised the age for admission for women, but kept the male age lower. And again, apparently, she was fixated with sexual congress going on the campus, and that women were responsible.
Well, they are the temptress.
They are the temptress. It's very much that she saw everyone was having sex.
My God.
Everyone was being tempted. These men are future boys, her boys. She would call them her boys. Again, that's Freud.
I think she would be slightly terrified about what's going on in universities today. Because I think there's some sex goes on at universities, I believe.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. You throw everyone together, and it's co-ed. Yeah. It's just absolutely teeming with hormones. But she called the students her boys. Again, this is a woman who's gone through grief, and we, can't imagine that, but calls her boys, and she thought the women were corrupting. That there was too much sex, there was too much promiscuity going on. Apparently, she wanted armed guards on horseback riding around the campus to stop people doing stuff. Holding hands, kissing, getting close to each other, fingering, whatever was happening. There was a guard with a gun.
Just ride them down on horseback.
This is something she wanted. I don't know. I couldn't find any evidence of this actually happened.
I just like that guard on horseback bursting into a door.
Up the stairs. Jesus, that was a lot. Okay, what are you doing? We're studying. Well, keep 6 inches apart, you two. Off we go to room 204. Yeah, was horrified by the idea of promiscuity on the campus, but blamed the women. And she did say to the board, having started this university as a co-educational facility, had said to the board close to the end of her life that if they felt that the university was under threat, that they could remove female students if they wanted. If they wanted.
Oh, Mrs. Stanford.
Mrs. Stanford doesn't like it. Now, she was instrumental in the ousting of Professor Edward Ross. This was a very famous case at the time of a professor she wanted him fired. He would end up resigning. And this is a big question about freedom of speech with the professors in the academic world. Professor Ross absolutely loved eugenics.
Delightful.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved a bit of racism.
Who doesn't?
Was particularly critical, though, of the railroad industry.
Okay.
He was a populist, so he talked a lot about the railroad industry, and he was critical of that. Obviously, that's where the Stanfords got their money, so she wasn't happy about that. She wasn't unhappy about the racism, though.
That's
the
fine.
thing. Yeah, it's just a thing that he spoke widely about, that eugenics need to be put into practice, and that he criticised Chinese and the Japanese and saying it'd be fine to wipe them out and all of those things. But it was more that he criticised the railroad industry.
That's the bad thing.
And his political ideals didn't quite match hers, so she tried to get him fired. And she lobbied the president and said he needs to be out. And he's like, on what grounds? Like, I don't like his politics. No one was talking about the racism then, apparently. But they lobbied so hard, he walked out in protest. Other professors walked out because they said, you are quelling his freedom of speech, about the politics side of it. The fact that he was a populist. And again, you have to extract a little bit that no one was really calling out going, isn't he a massive racist? Yeah.
But who wasn't back then?
There we are. Plenty of turmoil on the campus. So she's causing turmoil. She is not making any friends with the staff. David Starr Jordan as well. She's got her sights set on him. She's going, no, I want to get rid of him as the president of the university. He is not supporting me. He's not getting rid of people I don't like, because he's saying, no, they are academics. I don't care about your politics, your personal feelings. She apparently, though, does have dirt on him. He covered up a sex scandal.
Yeah.
It is alleged that one professor got a bit handsy with someone who worked in the library, and they got rid of the person who worked in the library and said, don't say anything. So, ew. No one's good in this story. No one
comes out well.
But what we're getting is this picture of Jane Stanford emerging as she's got a lot of dirt on people and a lot of thoughts, and it would be really in everyone's interest if she went away. Yeah. Jordan knows his cards are marked, and even in her 70s, Jane Stanford is a very powerful, annoying woman.
Yeah.
What's to be done?
Well.
So in January 1905, Jane Stanford is now 76, still yelling at the board and having board meetings. And she's in her home in her mansion in San Francisco. One night, she's preparing for bed. She takes her usual bottle of mineral water to bed that her staff provide her. She always has a bottle of mineral water. She gets into bed and she has a sip of her water, immediately spits it out. She calls her secretary and her maid straight to her room. Her secretary, Bertha, and her maid, Elizabeth Richmond. And she says, this water is bitter. There's something in this water. Smart woman. She starts forcing herself to throw up. And between bouts, she says to the girls, dip a finger in this water and taste it. And they both do so, and they agree it's bitter. This doesn't taste right at all. During this incident, they get the water. She, or between them, the staff say, send it to the chemist down the road, get this analysed, get this checked. She has enough money because Jane is convinced she has been poisoned. Someone is out to get her. Now, she has managed at this point to purge all the water that she has drunk, and she makes a recovery. But she thinks, someone's
out there, yeah.
Someone's out there, or someone's in the house. Someone has poisoned her water. Could it be an external source? She had a meeting with the board the day before. Or is it
someone in the house?
Why would anyone in the house want away with her? Her workplace. Everyone at the moment, they all have access to her. The tests come back of the water. It contains strychnine.
No.
Strychnine, whichever way you want to say it. She has been deliberately poisoned. In this case, it is rat poison. It is a form of rat poison that has been put into the water. She hires a private detective to start investigating this on the quiet, in the background. She doesn't want this leaked to the press. Yep. She doesn't want anyone to know, but she needs to find out who has it in for her. The finger of suspicion is at first pointed at the maid, Elizabeth Richmond, who was there. Jane fires her. She is let go. There's no evidence that she did anything, but Elizabeth is not happy about this, and she is pissed off enough that she starts spreading rumours. And all of the investigations around this time, this is where it gets a bit convoluted because the records aren't complete of what the detectives find and what is said to the press, but everyone apparently is lying to each other.
Okay.
This is from, and again, this is what Richard White talks about in his book, that everyone lies when they're talking to each other because everyone has a secret to hide.
Yeah, everyone's got something to hide, yeah.
Everyone's got something to hide and no one's telling a straight story. But what ends up happening is Jane goes into hiding. She goes into hiding because someone is out to get me. She's right.
She's right, yeah.
She decides she's going to head to Asia. She's going to go to Japan.
That's quite a way to hide.
Yes, go hide there.
Go hide in Japan.
She's going to sail there via Hawaii.
Nice.
Via Hawaii. Lovely, lovely place. She's going to go there, rest, recuperation, keep away from everyone. She travels with a new maid that she's hired and Bertha, her trusted secretary. Bertha doesn't want to go. Doesn't really want to go because Bertha's mother has been really, really sick for a long time. She needs to stay home and look after her. She gets so little time off from her job. For 20 years, she's been with Jane the whole time. And Jane has not let her have time off, barely let her see her family. Please, my mother is dying. Please let me stay. Jane says it's your mother or me.
Yeah.
And your wages. Bertha has no choice but to go. So she's on the boat. So you're starting to see a picture here.
Yeah. Yeah.
The new maid who's been hired, she doesn't know what the fuck is going on, but yeah, she's probably not having a good time. Also, Bertha, while you come along with me, you must do your secretary duties. Also, taste all of my food and drink. Great.
You die first. It's fine.
Good.
I'm
so happy.
No.
Oh, okay. Bertha comes along because, yes, all right, I don't have much choice. Many of you might be thinking, like, well, just fuck her off and go and see to your poor mother.
Well, you need the money. So no welfare state or anything like that at the moment. So
she's also been stealing from Jane
right,
as well.
Okay.
Just been swiping a little off the top of the cream. Yep, there we are. Embezzling money from Jane. Having an affair with one of the butlers who used to work with Jane, who also has a vendetta against him.
Nice.
So off they go. You can see it now. Bette Davis as Jane Stanford. They set sail. Off they go on their voyage. They arrive in Honolulu. They head to the Moana Hotel on the 28th of February. They have a small picnic on the beach beforehand.
Delightful.
They have chocolate and gingerbread.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, those could have been ingredients I later find out.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Sorry. But we had a nice cocktail. So they get back to the hotel. That night, Jane goes off to bed early. She asks Bertha to bring her bottle of bicarb of soda. Her stomach's a bit upset. They've indulged during the day. They've had a big old lunch.
A lot of gingerbread, a lot of chocolate.
Exactly. Gingerbread and chocolate. She's going to have a bicarb of soda, settle her stomach. Around 11:15 p.m., Jane starts screaming for help. She has been poisoned again, she says. She tries to vomit, but this time it doesn't work. A doctor is called for, the nearest doctor on hand. Bertha tells the doctor that Jane had been poisoned before with strychnine. And they try to help her while Jane is declaring her jaw is stiff, her feet twist inwards, her fists clench, her head is bent backwards, the thighs wide open, and she is spasming. She manages to say, "This is a horrible death to die."
Yeah, it would be.
Just before she dies. Yeah. Grim. Jane Stanford is dead. The next day, the San Francisco Evening Bulletin runs the front page headline, "Mrs. Stanford dies poisoned." The bicarbonate of soda bottle that she had with her is tested and it contains pure strychnine.
Okay. That's bold.
Not rat poison, actual strychnine. Actual someone found that shit and put it in there. That is planned, shall we say.
I mean, it's not looking good for Bertha, it has to be said.
A bottle of bicarb apparently was bought in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So it wasn't bought in Honolulu. It wasn't a recent purchase there on the island. It came from San Francisco. It travelled with them. So anyone could have gotten to that bicarb of soda. Allegedly, the bottle was in the house before they travelled.
Fair point. Okay, fair enough.
The maid, the secretary, anyone visiting, anyone calling in, as they had done beforehand, could have gotten to that bottle. It had been packed away, and it had been the first time it had been used that night. An inquest is held almost instantly before the sandwiches are even brought out. They say strychnine poisoning, strychnine. What are we saying it? I like strychnine. From strychnine poisoning, they said strychnine having been introduced to a bottle of bicarbonate of soda with a felonious intent by some persons to this jury unknown. But see, in the US press are getting a different story.
Oh.
David Starr Jordan, president of Stanford University, has gone to Hawaii instantly.
Oh.
He has travelled down there and he has found a local doctor who will claim that absolutely it's not poisoning. No.
Bold.
No, she's died of heart failure.
Yeah, she's an old lady.
She's an old lady. And also what happened is that this heart failure was induced by gas.
Yes.
Because she ate so much food at the picnic that the gas swelled up on her stomach and it made her heart explode.
That's how it works.
She had heart failure induced from the amount of food she ate that day.
Okay.
Aside from the evidence of all of the physical stuff of her being poisoned to death. No. That guy got a man from the street.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it. And put a stethoscope around his neck and shoved him into a room and just went, heart failure. And then went, I believe him entirely. Yeah.
No.
Never saw the body. He never saw the body. He
That's
never spoke to any of the witnesses.
Yeah, I mean, that's an impressive diagnosis.
So David Starr Jordan succeeds in having a doctor declare that it was heart failure and lobbies the press enough that they're going, apparently
maybe
it
it
was heart
might be.
failure. Maybe
Okay.
it wasn't strychnine. This is just wiped from the record. Bertha, too, who had initially, to the inquest that was held just after her death, to the detectives who said it was strychnine poisoning, I've seen this is what's happened, goes, no. Heart failure. She has changed the story. Why would she change her story?
Oh, indeed. Been
Why?
paid well.
Also, who's the finger of suspicion going to be pointed out, as you said? It's in everyone's interest to say that Jane Stanford died of natural causes. Murder means that everything in her documents and everyone else's documents will be opened up to the courts. Her will be disputed. All the information about the university, every deal, every inside deal, every dirty little secret will be aired.
It will come out.
Bertha doesn't really want to be accused, and she knows a lot. Everyone decides.
Better for everyone.
Natural causes.
Yeah, exactly. Natural causes. Keep it nice and simple.
Jane Stanford would be buried in her family mausoleum with a cortege of 5,000 people.
Impressive.
But what happened? What happened to her? The police accept the new verdict of her dying of heart failure. Her death is never investigated, even though she absolutely died of strychnine poisoning. No one...
Absolutely, she was murdered. No.
Even though it's just there on paper multiple times. They were like, no, didn't happen. Was it Bertha? Was it, as you said, her secretary, the person who was there on both occasions, the one person who was there on both occasions, who was fed up with a horrible employee, who had bought a new bottle of bicarbonate of soda just before the trip, but didn't tell anyone about that, and it was only found out in records of the sale. Did Jordan...
Who had been stealing from her employer.
Who had been stealing from her employer, who had her secrets of her own. What about Jordan? Jordan and the board, who were sick of
the
Jane Stanford's interference. And Jane Stanford apparently had dirt on him. Maybe some of his shady dealings and his questionable ways at the university. What did her own private detectives find out about Jordan? Did he plant the bottle? Did he plant the poison in San Francisco? Did he have someone else do it? Did he have one of her servants do it to remove this troublesome figure? There is a death mask of Jane Stanford still in the archives of Stanford University, but no one knows for sure who sent her to the great beyond to be with her husband and son.
Very good.
That is the mad story.
That is a mad story.
Of Jane Stanford and the founding of Stanford University.
Like it. You get that? All those Stanford people over there? Murder. All benefiting from murder.
Yep. No, but it's again. I was listening to some interviews with Richard White and delving into some of the resources, and Richard White himself said, and he is a professor at Stanford. He has access to everything, and there's multiple articles that have been written on Stanford University by different students, surmising different things, and they're trying to draw the same conclusions. They all sort of say like it's weird how much and how little of information is available. There is fascinating information, and then stuff was destroyed. Stuff was wiped that should have been preserved. It was like, But for many years, up until very recently, Stanford's past was like Jane Stanford was a beacon of light.
Yes, delight.
Yeah, she was a feminist and she was an icon, and nothing bad happened here at all because you just tug at the thread and it's like she was murdered, potentially by people in the university. Or by her secretary, who was definitely had dirt on her and knew a lot of other people, or may have been paid off.
Yeah, you don't want that getting out, really, do you?
No, not so much. Would throw it into disrepute.
Yes.
No reflection on the university today.
I'm sure it's a delightful place.
The university has done incredible things with all of its research, and it has made incredible advancements in various fields. So it's not your fault, people. Did anyone go to Stanford? Anyone who listens? Tell us.
Yes,
do.
do.
What's it like? Is it murdery?
Is it murdery over there? Is it?
Yeah. Well, what do you think? What do you think of old Jane Stanford?
Oh,
I mean, that's mad.
I think it's mad. Yes, I think she probably was done in. So, but well, yeah, she obviously did make herself very popular at the end. And she was, but also, yeah, I mean, a woman who's not afraid to fight for what she wanted, even though what she wanted was entirely mad.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how she flipped from being such an ardent, equal opportunities and education for everyone to, oh my God, you're a slut.
I think it's a weird. Yeah, I think that's it's the sad thing about sort of how feminism was seen in the past, that it's not black and white. It was grey. Is that you had plenty of women who started from a standpoint of no, women should have access to education, but really there was a limit in their mind.
Education, but so you can so you can make nice conversation.
Yes,
but that's all you really need is
to support your husband and to educate your sons. And when there were too many women and it was sort of seen as too equal, it was like, no, we need to dial this back a bit. I think it's important.
Get a bit carried away now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a shame, but yeah, it's important to put that into context. Yeah, and maybe it was Bertha. Maybe Bertha who was like, or the maid did it.
Oh yeah,
it's always
the annoyed maid.
Yeah, well, there was a maid and
there was a maid who got fired.
Yeah.
So perhaps she had,
maybe
following.
she'd slip something in.
Yeah. Who knows?
There we go. Well, what do you think, people? What do you think of the story of Jane Stanford, the founding of Stanford University, and the murder that definitely took place?
That probably did, yes.
What do you think happened to Jane Stanford? What do you think about all the players? Are there rumours or stories that you've heard about this case that you'd like to share with us? Do you think there are particular suspects that bear looking at? Do you think it was the secretary? Do you think it was a maid? Do you think it was a disgruntled lover of one of the maids or someone nearby? Do you think it was university?
Yeah.
Do you think it was very easy for them to go, you know what, get rid of her and get the money? Because when she died, they got all the money.
Well, yeah, everything must have gone to her. There's no children or anything for it to money to go to. So
it was in the will, and the huge amount of the fortune all went to Stanford University. So it was completely in their interest to get her out of the way. Yes. Tell us what you think. Jump on the comments of this episode. Share your thoughts, your feelings, your theories. But most importantly, you should mix up a Don's Delight.
Don's Delight, yes.
Now you've got two choices.
Absolutely. A whiskey one, tequila one. I like the whiskey one.
You have a whiskey one, you have a tequila one, you drink a vodka one, you drink a boozy one. Yes. Yep.
But have one of those. We've got 4 options now.
Yeah.
But yes, the rest we will be out this evening. So do give it a go. It was quite tasty.
It was very tasty, very pleasant, light, refreshing, fun.
Like it.
Excellent. If you can, please do consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can get extra episode every week. We will ask, please support us on our various social media channels. So that's Instagram, that's TikTok, and YouTube. We're trying to do more on there as well. If you feel like it, come and support Sinead on YouTube as well. She's
doing stuff.
I just started a booktube channel, and I'll be doing all manner of shenanigans on there.
All the books.
Yeah, so Sinead Hannah Crack, but CRAIC, not the other stuff.
Not crack.
Not crack, but good crack.
Good crack.
Support us on there and send us more suggestions of stories we can be telling in the future. Thanks for listening, guys. We have been the people inside the Poisonous Cabinet. We will see you next week. And remember, your loved ones are trying to kill you.